All right, hello, my name is Erica Leeper, and today I have Turner's teacher here, Jocelyn, and we're gonna go over his case real quick. So a little overview of Turner. Turner is a 4-year-old male who is currently undergoing a development assessment with his pediatrician. He lives at home with his mother, father, both of whom are active duty. Service members and attends a preschool classroom where you provide behavior consultation. His mother just recently deployed. Though Turner's a cute and happy child, he is very difficult to understand, presents some stereotypical behavior, and struggles with getting along with his peers. Over the course of the last few weeks, he has started biting, hitting, and playing with other peers. You notice that he does this more during unstructured activity, particularly when he is interrupted and around nap time. Dad has indicated that he thinks Turner is just allowed to do whatever he wants and recommends punishing him when he isn't behaving appropriately. You've been asked to observe and develop recommendations for the teacher to implement. Okay, so once again, my name is Erica, so I'm going to be implementing the behaviors, and then I have Jocelyn, who is the teacher here next to us. Okay, so for Turner, the behaviors that we are going to target to decrease are going to be Turner's hitting and biting. These behaviors are going to be important for Turner because he is in the preschool setting, and we do want him to be able to be around his peers without engaging in any maladaptive behaviors like his hitting and biting. Because at preschool, you do see a lot of sharing with toys, you have nap time, and we want him to be integrated with his peers and play appropriately next to them. So the definition of what a hitting will look like for Turner is each instance of direct force of contact with an open or closed fist hand towards a peer. So a peer will be a teacher or a student. Once again, each instance of a direct force of contact with an open or closed hand towards a peer. Biting. Each instance an open mouth with teeth contact towards another peer. Once again, peer is going to be a teacher or student. So anytime Turner opens his mouth, puts his teeth contact onto another peer, that would be an instance of biting. Behavior goals. So these are going to be really more targeted for Turner and his behaviors. Turner is once again in that preschool setting, so it's going to be really important for us to incorporate these goals and for Turner. We are also going to implement man training for Turner. So what we did for him right now is goal number 1. Turner will decrease his hitting to 0 across the classroom setting over the 2022 school year. Goal number 2, Turner will decrease his biting to 0 across this classroom setting over the course of his 2022 school year. Goal number 3, Turner will increase his 1 to 2 word mands to 90% over the course of his 2022 school year. So manding is requesting. We want Turner to request to go to other locations. We want Turner to request to be all done. We want Turner to request go, my turn, not now. These are going to be all appropriate for Turner in that preschool setting to be able to play with his peers appropriately, or if he doesn't want to take a nap, he can be able to man out from that nap and maybe come back to it in a little bit of time. Yep, so these are going to be most important and targeted for Turner in his classroom setting. The measurement system that we're going to be using is frequency. Let me go over this real quick. The measure system we use is frequency. Frequency means each instant the behavior occurs. So anytime Turner hits, that would be an occurrence. Anytime Turner bites, that would be an occurrence. So an example would be Turner hit his friend playing next to him. Bop, 1 occurrence. Bop, 2 occurrence. A non-example would be Turner hit his toy while playing. If Turner was just playing with this toy and he just hit it, that would not be an occurrence. We would not track that and put a tally mark onto the data sheet. Example for biting would be Turner bites his teacher when she said it was time for nap time. Once again, that forced contact with teeth, that would be an example of biting. A non-example would be Turner was chewing on his food during lunchtime. I chose frequency compared to like duration or partial interval because frequency for Turner in his case They're small instances, they're not going to be a long period of time, like a tantrum behavior. They don't occur during intervals. They're more targeted towards when he's like in that classroom setting of his preschool, which is more of that functional naturalistic play. So they're just going to be occurrences, just these random occurrences while he's playing. So we're not going to do duration because it's not going to be a long amount of time of him hitting. And we're not going to do partial interval or at that momentary time sampling as well, because that would be just a little bit too much for Turner since we're in that preschool setting. This is what the frequency data collection will look like. You're going to go ahead and put your date on this side, the behavior that we'll be tracking, which is going to be hitting and biting. You're going to go ahead and tally the number of times that behavior occurs through that day. And at the end, you're just going to go ahead and write that total, which would be 10 for this case. Biting had 3 on this day, this one had 4, and then this one had 1. Can you go back real quick? This data that we have here will be graphed, or the data that you guys will be taking the teacher will be graphed. That way we can look and see how many occurrences Turner had before that intervention goes in place. The intervention will go in place, and then we'll start tracking that hitting and biting again to hopefully see a decrease in those behaviors, which is our target goals for Turner, to see those decrease in behaviors. This is inter-observer agreement. So on top of doing our frequency data collection, we're also going to do an IOA. An IOA data will be taken during baseline and after the intervention. IOA is when 2 observers take data on a behavior or multiple behaviors and then compare. The main purpose to make sure data is being taken correctly and the procedures being implemented are correct. So example, if I'm taking data on Turner's hitting and then the teacher Jocelyn is taking it on hitting and we have a discrepancy, we'll be able to look at that and just talk about why one was different versus another, and we'll come to an agreement. After IOA data is collected, put in your numbers into a formula. So this formula will be able to get a percentage. So what you're going to do is take the smaller number from one observer, the higher number from the other observer, and then we're going to times that by 100. So this is what the data sheet will look like. You'll have your observer, the teacher, and Erica. You'll write how many times that hitting occurred, hit 11 or 13, biting 2 and 3. So for the formula, which was right here, you're going to do IOA hitting. So for 11, the teacher had 11, I had 13, and then I'm going to go ahead and divide these two numbers, times it by 100, and I got 84.5%. For biting, we got 2, and then I got 3, divide that, times it by 100, and I got 66.7%. So with these percentage right here, it is very important to make sure it is above 90%. Ideally, we would want it at 100%. But right here we see 66.7 and 84.5. When you see these percentages, we definitely need to talk about why one observer was counting something versus the other one not counting something. We need to understand what is going on so we're counting the exact same thing, so our graphs can be correct and we can track the right behaviors to have a great intervention in place. If I'm collecting something that is not the behavior and the teacher is, the graphs will be a little bit off, and the intervention that we have implemented might not work correctly. So if you see your numbers are off or below 90%, we need to have an agreement, a come together agreement to discuss the data that is being collected. So that is all I have for Turner. Turner, like I said, will have target behaviors of hitting and biting, and then with a man intervention going in place.